Hello everyone, welcome to today's edition of Velocity Kinetics. Well, I say today, it's probably going to be filmed over, well, it's probably going to be at least 12 hours between this bit of the video and the second bit of the video. But, what is it we're talking about? Well, those who might follow Suzuki on Facebook, last night they announced a new model called the Swace. I think it's pronounced Swace or Swace, probably Swace. S-W-A-C-E. And it's quite an interesting car, really, to a point. It's an estate, a £30,000 estate car. A £30,000 estate car that was a Toyota. Platform sharing, which is a necessary evil in these day and age. Well, not evil, but, you know, necessary requirement, if nothing else. Oh god. It's horrible getting in the car first thing in the morning, isn't it? Good grief. Everywhere. It's the SWACE, it's a rebranded Toyota Corolla Hybrid. Which I'm a bit conflicted about, to be honest. I mean, I've not driven a Toyota Hybrid, so it could be a fantastic pairing underneath and Suzuki might be onto a real winner. But I want to have a think about this a different way. So, I'm now off to work. I'm going to have to think about exactly what I want to say in this video. There we go. Those who remember when I do videos this way, music starts in the car, so I have to turn it off. But I need to have a think about how I want to go about this. Suffice it to say, I'm intrigued. The other problem is, though, £30,000 for a Suzuki. What a long day it has been. Been at work all day. So when I did the first part of that video, I was leaving for work. I leave for work at about 25 to 8 in the morning. I got to where my work is. Parked at 8:15 this morning. Nice drive through the country road. Very long, very busy day. Finished, got out of the building at about 5:10, I think, by the time all was said and done. Got in my car was steamed up and it was slightly wet, which is a pain in the arse. And then had to drive home, got back here for about 6 o'clock, sat for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, if that, and then I had to go get Sarah from work. Not to get Sarah from work, go take Sarah to work, because she's on the night shift. It is now 10 to 7. I've still got to have my dinner and things. I am absolutely knackered. And all the thoughts I'd had about the car at the start of the video, I can't quite place them. So if I can think of what I was talking about earlier in the video, then I will do a recording tonight. However, probably more likely going to be tomorrow when Sarah is sleeping some of her night shift off. Oh, and before I go any further, I read something quite disturbing this morning, just to wander off topic about the Swace, or Swayze. I'm not going to go there. I read something quite disturbing this morning, it's in Wales, about nurses. Now, it's not anything to... can you see my car flashing? Hey, ghostly figure. Anyway, before I got distracted doing childish things, I read something quite disturbing this morning. Now, it's primarily in Wales where they've been having this problem, but it's about the way nurses are being treated during this second lockdown, and not going anywhere political with it, because there is nowhere to go politically. Tory government has failed them, and fucking failed them hard. Boris Johnson, etc., has not cared, couldn't care less. That's their attitude, they really couldn't care less. But people are abusing nurses, getting very verbal, getting very physical. It's like, you want these people to take care of you. And people are basically going about it in a way that sort of accuses. So I got talking and forgot to find the house keys. quite mild. So anyway, but anyway, people abusing nurses. You want care off these people. You want to be cared for when you're ill. You want looking after when things go wrong, and yet you're shouting all sorts of abuse, getting physical with them, and doctors too, or indeed anyone in just any blue light profession. Just fucking stop it! It's the only thing I can say about it. Fucking stop it. Jesus. And I now need to find food, drink, maybe even somewhere just to go sleep. But we'll pick up the talk about the Swace. Stop it. Pick up the talk about the Swace tomorrow. After sleep and a few things this morning, we're back to talk about a bit more about the Swace or the Swace. It's quite an interesting prospect for Suzuki because for a long time in their lineup they've just had super minis or they've just had SUVs or a combination of the two. For instance, when I bought the Baleno, you had the Celerio, the Ignis, the Swift, the Baleno in the super minis, and then you went to the Jimny, the Vitara, or the S-Cross. That's not a very diverse lineup. This estate is a fantastic addition. It plugs a hole in the lineup. Arguably, really, they shouldn't have made the Baleno when it was on sale. They shouldn't have made it a super mini. It should have been a full-on hatchback, like something rather than the Honda Civic, Ford Focus, the Subaru Impreza. It should have been something of that size with the same equipment level, and I don't think they'd have kept enough of them on the forecourt. I think it would have sold and kept selling. Or it might be a bit like the Fiat Tipo. You see enough of them around, like, oh, there's one of them, it's a bit different. So it might not have been enough to worry the established cars, but certainly enough for them to justify it being on sale. This move indicates that Suzuki want to change and want to improve their lineup, which is very good, and like I said, it might entice people back to them who otherwise may not have bought with them. It does question what direction they're going to go next. However, what direction Suzuki are going to go aside, because we're not any part of business, looking at it from a purely platform sharing perspective, it's not something that's very unheard of, because a few years ago, Suzuki and Vauxhall shared the same platform on one of their vehicles. When Suzuki had the Splash, Vauxhall had the Agila. It was the same chassis and same engines, just different badges and slightly different bodies. Otherwise, the same thing. Other manufacturers done it before. So, for instance, Volvo with the C30 were actually using a Ford Focus chassis, but they couldn't make it drive like a Focus because they were owned by Ford at the time. The common thing was if they could have actually been able to engineer the car properly to make it like a Focus, and they might have actually been better than Focus. You've had quite a lot of super minis share platforms. So a number of years ago, the Toyota Aygo, this is Citroen C1, and the Peugeot 107 all shared the same chassis, just slightly different bodies. And it's a bit similar with engines as well. So it's no different to, for instance, buying a Chevy Crate engine and putting it into different things, or for instance, buying a Corvette engine, putting it into something else, or when BMW was selling their engines, I think they still do, but you could have bought a BMW engine, like particularly the V8 M5 before the E60. I forget what model number that was, but that 5-litre V8 from the model prior to the E60 V10 model, that V8 was in a lot of different cars. So sharing parts is not unheard of, and even lots of big manufacturers are getting in on the sharing thing. Like I said, Toyota have done it with the Aygo. I don't know who developed it, but either way, Toyota was involved somewhere, and Ford and VW are looking at working together. So actually, a collaboration isn't too bad. However, it depends on whereabouts you're collaborating, if that makes sense. I'm about to use some software in a minute that might make the webcam go a bit slow, so I apologise if the frame rate tanks. But just going to show you the Swace and then what car it's actually come from. And price-wise, I don't know why it's priced where it is. It's like, well, if you're going to buy that from there, you might as well buy it from its original manufacturer. But we'll also have to navigate their website a bit, so let me just get this to work. So let's have a look. Let's start that recording. There we go. I think we are recording. The Swace. Now I'm just going to show you a page on the Suzuki website first. So I'd say the S-Cross is their current biggest vehicle. The A-Cross is something new and a completely different league. Let's just quickly find the details about the S-Cross. Explore and configure. Suzuki have changed all their cars to hybrid now, so no turbos, none of the 3-cylinder booster jets like I've got, which I don't think is a good move, but there we are. So you might, so there we go. So 875 litres seats down, 430 litres seats up. It's okay, not brilliant, but it's okay. But now let's get to the Swace. As you already see, it's quite a swanky looking vehicle. Looks alright. Front end's a bit. Don't know why they couldn't. I don't know why they couldn't have stuck a Baleno front end on it. Made it theirs a little bit, at least from the front quarter panel forwards. You see, it's quite a high starting price. It's. I mean, it's already displayed it here. It's so much bigger in the boot than the S-Cross seats up. The thing is, though, as we can see here, it's not quite as efficient as other things have been in their lineup. So it's a CVT, so continually varying transmission is what that typically stands for, and I believe that's what it will stand for on here as well. So some of the pictures you can see it's got reasonable things, but I will say one thing with the Suzuki lineup, as is quite common across the ones I've looked at, they've all not got an awful lot of options on. It's mostly sort of vanity things, like here you got the covers, interior, it's just again vanity, tiny bit of convenience, and the extra again vanity thing really. It's not anything super special. Here though is where, to me, this is where this car falls flat on its face. Now the engine, it's a 4-cylinder 1.8 litre petrol with 102 horsepower. Now bear in mind that the Baleno and the Swift, before they went, when they were still turbocharged, because they're now no longer turbo, like I said, they're hybrid, naturally aspirated with a hybrid. The 3-cylinder turbo would do with 1 litre and 3 cylinders. It had 111 PS, which as I understand converts about 108, 109 horsepower. So it was just a far better power that came out of it. Torque, I imagine that's probably this naturally aspirated probably got a bit more usable torque than the 3 cylinders, but nonetheless it's still not fantastic. As for the performance, 0 to 60, they're not hugely different. The fuel capacity, if that is correct, then that is a tiny fuel tank. Tiny fuel tank. The Baleno is faster in a straight line, 127 miles an hour it supposedly can do. I put in, when I've done a full week working at my normal place of work, or when I used to, actually even better because it's even further distance, when I used to work for Santander, and when I was living in South Shields, I used to commute 70 miles a day. I used to put in about 42 litres of petrol every week in my car. And that's, again, just a Baleno, not anything else. Was it 38? Either way, it's very close to that number. So it's not actually the greatest. And 64.2 versus the Baleno's 54. Okay, maybe it's more efficient in that regard, but the fact it's doing it with, but it's that much, only doing 10 miles a gallon more with one extra cylinder, and 800 more cc. It's not really that worth it to me. And 2-wheel drive, like I say, I mean, it'll be alright. I mean, it'll be a bit of a come down if I chose to get one. White is the free colour on it, and if you wanted to change it, like say 900, I don't get why you would pay for a car 900 for that. £600 for dark blue. Why would you pay £600 for no way to put it, for turd brown? Phantom Brown. Yeah, that's kind of funny. But it's... I struggle to see why it costs 27,499 in SZT trim. But that said, it does have a lot of kit on it. Heated steering wheel and heated front seats. Got the looks to be a far better multimedia screen. Like I said, a big boot. Dual zone climate control. Got the SOS. So like I say, looking at this, it's all pretty good. However, this is a car that Suzuki have not developed in house. This is one that they've effectively bought and rebadged. But it's the pricing of it that concerns me. Like I say, looking at all this, it's fantastic. And like I say, heated steering wheel, heated seats. I would kill for some heated seats in the winter. Like I say, it's... That's probably the only way I can describe it. It's like, oh, I want to like it so much more than I don't, if that makes sense. So I want to have more, but you might have just accidentally seen something pop up from there when I've just hovered over something. So this is where the car, you might say, well, oh, that looks a bit familiar. Well, this is where it's come from. It is a Toyota Corolla, and that's the same engine. So I don't get what they're doing. I don't know. Suzuki might have listed it without the electric motor boost, but that's pretty much the same. You can, I mean, the Suzuki are only selling it with the one engine, so you can't change it. I mean, they might bring in the 2 litre later on. It depends on how much of this they've licensed from Toyota. Now, it's one hell of... Why would you build your own one of these if someone will license it to you for a fraction of the cost? My concern is, now I've not fiddled around with Toyota very much. I've never really looked at them or anything. I don't even think I've used their website, so it took me a while to find even this page. I'm going to go through and try and build one and just try and compare the SZT, if I can, to what's on the Corolla. So I think it's the Sport model that this is with, but from what I can see initially, I don't understand Suzuki's price point. From what I can see, Suzuki have basically pulled the badge off, stuck a different badge on, and that's about all they've done. They're just trying to get more people in the door. Now, there's been an increasing push towards electrification with cars these days, and I don't necessarily think electrification is the way to go. Certainly we need to look at doing things in a better way, but electrification is not, strictly speaking, the way to go about it. So what we're going to do, I'm going to bump it all the way back here, because I think that might actually be where they've started with. Let me just have a look and see if I can get a look at the wheel. So SAP's 5 split. So that's where the Suzuki have started. So let's see if we can. So 26,350 versus 28,399. So what is on here? That is so different. It's making it so much less. We do need to build one though, so we can. Let's look at features and spec. Because again, if I've got a nasty feeling Suzuki might just shot themselves in the foot with it. Standard equipment, so comfort. I'm not going to really faff on with the wheels and things. Follow me, I got the headlights. Got that. Mine looks like it's got steering wheel. So that's the same. You really scrape the barrel when you say you've got a rear view mirror. Why? Just a full menu, I believe that's all correct. I believe that's the same. Suzuki probably got their own name on there. So I'm not seeing anything overly different. 7-inch versus 8, I think it is, Suzuki said. 8-inch multimedia screen. So it's slightly bigger. yeah, it's not really first-in cameras what they've got. There's not really an awful lot different that I can see really. And let me see. Build. Let me see if I can build. I mean, we might end up with the same thing. So we'll choose this one. Go hybrid, because like I say, everyone seems to be going hybrid. I don't understand on Suzuki side of things. Ford have done this with the EcoBoost recently, where they've still got the 1 litre turbos, and they've added hybrid, and that seems like such a brilliant combination, and yet Suzuki haven't done it. And they've, unless Ford have patented what they've done in such a way that means no one can do it, which if they have, then on the one hand, good move, at the same time, dick move. But it's nuts. Right, so I'm just going to go flat white, because like I say, I don't really personally believe in paying for colours for the colour on a car. Right, interior, yep. So like I say, pretty much identical. That's it, laid out in right-hand drive mode. And let's have a look. Can we get a? Well, that's not quite the same. As in, I can't. Not the best picture I want, but right, it's just proving a bit of a mare to get what we want, picture-wise. But anyway, the two are almost identical in the layout. They were both, like I say, both CVTs. Now that said, you've got more packs that you can add on the Toyota. So you can have some parking sensors. Has this got parking sensors on as stock? Because it could be this is why it's so much more. It might actually be a case of actually we've stocked it up with a lot more than it would normally have. Right, so SAT, let's have a look. Safety equal who holds. Again, why would you need to advertise that you've got airbags on a car like this? I wouldn't expect anything other than. I'm not keen on automatic high beam. I don't think it's very good, personally. Right, rear parking camera, rear assist grips, tailgate opener. No, that's weird. It advertises 8 on the website and 7 there, so they're not quite putting their thing into place. But anyway, it's not got parking sensors on, so you could add the parking sensors onto this. What else have we got? Parking sensors front and rear. Yeah, what else? So this. So mud flaps, not really sure what you'd want. That protection plate, boot liner, again not really sure quite what you'd want. I want that. Now you can optional. So really, it just seems to be a lot of vanity, really. You know what? I can't work out what is so different between the two. Why Suzuki's has to cost that much. I'm hoping they realise they made a boob with the pricing. Because as I understand it, as I look at this, you're paying $25,750 there to pay $27,499 there. I mean, all you're paying for is someone to have pulled the Suzuki badge off and stuck it, and pulled the Toyota badge off and stuck a Suzuki one on. Unless there's some extra dealership stuff that's going on in the background. But this is an example where platform sharing might have gone one too far. It's not something I'm overly bold. I'm not 100% bowled over with, to be honest. Actually, I think that one. No, that's just with a flat white, I believe it is. Yeah, your range from 28,399. So even more than this. And just seems nuts. I could go back and pay for this in blue and still have pay less than on the Suzuki. The only thing I can think of is we'll have to go back and see if we can piece it together bit by bit. So right, features and specifications, right, so let's go back and find the list. Let's find the first tab that that overlaps. So let's have a look at safety, when I can get the browser to work. So safety. So what have we got? So hill start assist, hill hold control, that's probably the same thing. E-call, let's get E-call on that. Belt reminder of call, but why the hell do you need to even list that? Why do you need to list that you've got a front seatbelt reminder? That's a requirement. You know what, this is because they call it two different things and classify things as two different things. For instance, Toyota have listed the reversing camera as safety, but Suzuki lists that under convenience. So actually this might be, you're really scraping the barrel when you say you've got a clock on your car. I don't mean to sound so down on this, because like I say, ultimately the concept of having an estate car in Suzuki's lineup is the right way to go. But from this just initial dig through, this is, to me, is an example of when platform sharing isn't working out as well as it could. Why couldn't they just stick a Baleno front end on it? Because the Baleno has got a far nicer front end on it than that. That looks like someone drew it with a ruler. I'm sure it's something to do with cutting through the air in the most efficient way and housing the hybrid equipment, etc. But it's not a very nice looking car in Toyota or Suzuki form. So stick a Baleno front end on it. And the price. I could spend less and have that. Well, what's even more concerning between those two is I could actually spend less and probably, if you don't mind going for pre-registered, if you don't mind buying a pre-registered car, or slightly used, as there was a car going in Norwich at Subaru a few months ago, and if I had the money to, I would have gone and bought it in a heartbeat. It was a Subaru Levorg, 6 months old, had 100 miles on the clock, £22,000. Granted, it had a boxer engine and no hybrid, and a boxer is a bit harder to drive than a standard inline or straight, depending on where you want to come from. Even if it's a standard V or a W shape engine, a boxer is apparently far harder to drive. You could save so much more money on that, and then this brings it back around to one of these things of you're then encouraging people back into the SUV. So, I don't know. This video sort of feels like it's wandered on and off point, but I'm pleased to see the model in the lineup, but I think it could have been gone about in such a different way. I think if Suzuki had attached, if they bought the body, most of the body and the chassis from Toyota, if they'd stuck the booster jet 3-cylinder turbo engine in with their hybrid gear and put a Baleno style front end on it, I think they'd have been on to a winner. Granted, they probably would have had to have teamed it to an automatic gearbox, not a manual, but still it would have given the perky little 3-cylinder engine even more pep and go, and compensated for turbo lag. So I'm going to leave this video there, but we'll try to stop it here, because like I say, I know I've wandered off, and some people say, well, there's not a lot of point going on in this video, and in some ways, yes, you might be right, but aside from several Dirty Dancing and Patrick Swayze jokes, there's not really an awful lot to say. But it's a good move and an interesting move from Suzuki. It shows that they're trying to move away from being cheap, but they're not trying to move away, because that's Suzuki has always been a good little cheap people mover. That's how they've made their name. That's how they've stayed in existence. I think without the last generation of Swift, I think they might possibly have gone under, or at least slipped away into maybe just Japan only or Asia only. It shows that they're not afraid to try new things, like the Baleno showed they're not afraid to try new things, or try a different way of approaching things. Going to be hard to digest this one. The only other thing for me that's annoying is that's the next sort of car I would like, and that's just far too far out of my price range. It's just not possible. Even if I had the money to, I'd be a little sceptical at running off to buy one, because out there I've got a car that they introduced and then they removed from sale, and you don't really want to be stuck with a car unless you're planning to keep it until it expires and completely breaks down. You don't really want to be stuck with a car that you can't sell. So, hope you've enjoyed this video. Please bear with us as we try and get out more content as we go. It's increasingly difficult at the moment. Just doing a 52 mile a day commute is very draining. I'd forgot. Whilst I know I said in the video I used to do 70 a day for Santander when I worked for them. The difference was that was all motorway driving, so all straight line. Whereas this commute I do, particularly at night, is really draining because the roads aren't lit, whereas on the A19 between Stockton and Shields it was lit, virtually all of it. It was straight line motorway and dual carriageway, so the only thing you had to worry about was where the slip road was and seeing if you could move over or have enough space to move over to allow someone to get on off a slip road. But this is all country roads I do now, so at night that is hard. A number of times I've made mistakes recently, not as in I've wiped out or anything. I think I've come a lot closer to wiping out than I even care to admit, because the roads are just pitch black, no delineators or cat's eyes in them, and especially when you go around with sharp turns, you don't want to be going in with your headlights on full, because you might be met with a car coming the other direction and be blinding each other. In fact, I've also noticed a lot of people still drive along with their lights on full. But anyway, so enjoy your weekend. Hope you stay safe. And like I said in the second part of the video, where I'm obviously quite wiped out, if you happen to do anything with any medical professional at the moment, or blue light service, don't abuse them. I don't even know why this has to be said, and as far as I'm concerned, if you do it, you're an absolute cunt. And on that 4-letter word, we will end the video. Take care of yourselves, look after yourselves, and we'll see you